This video is to show you how to use the Power BI to analyze your data. The Power BI is a very advanced software. It functions similarly to spreadsheet, as a spreadsheet, but has more capability. So when you open your Power BI, it's going to look similarly to the screen you can see from here, except the fact that you cannot see with the information that I cancel here. So it's relatively the same. So the first point to start is, before I go into that, the Power BI, you can use it from the browser, or you could have a desktop on your computer, which you could open and use the application on your computer. So this is the application that I installed on my computer. And of course, it is free if you already have Microsoft Windows installed on your computer. So the first step is to get the data. So when you click on Get Data, and it's going to show you this functions here. You could get various type of data, either from your spreadsheet or even PDF and other type of files that consist of data. So today I'm going to be demonstrating an example that uses the as a spreadsheet data, which is the data that I use in my other video, using the pivot table and the pivot chart analytics. Before I show or I get data, I will just show you that if your Windows looks similarly to this, don't get worried, it's the same thing. You can also click on get data from here, and which will obviously show you the type of the earlier video which I showed you previously, this type of window here. Once you have chosen your files type, which is in this case, you click on Connect. So once you click on Connect, it's going to tell you to open a folder, and then you go to you choose the file from the folder where you save it on your computer. If you open the spreadsheet on your computer, sometimes it may not load, so you have to actually close your spreadsheet and then re-import the data from the file once you've closed the files from your window. Then in the spreadsheet, it will show the sheets that are there, and I choose one that consists of the file. Rather, one that consists of the data that you wish to use. Once you click on the data sheet, it's going to show you this format here. And you could, if your data is clean and you are happy with the structure of your data, you could load straight away. Before you load, it's good to look at the data. If you think the data needs to be cleaned a little bit before you go and import it to your Power BI for analysis, then you choose the transform data. This will allow you to delete things that you really wish to delete. Clean up the data a little bit, remove all the zeros if there are zeros, or all the errors. So it's mainly giving you that opportunity to transform your data. You could also use it to restructure your data, whereby these items here could be up there and the other one moved down. So it's mainly you manipulating the data using this transform function. Sometimes loading the data and transforming it may take a little bit of time for the system to process. And once it's loaded, you click on transform. I use the transform option. That gives me this option here, which is called the Power Query Editor. And I can edit this data, remove the things I don't want, and look through the data and see the data to see whether there's any error, and perhaps select some key data that I'm interested in. If I was to remove any of this industry that I don't need, I just simply select all, and then I untick the ones that I don't need. So I need all of this industry, so that is fine. You could also look at a year. For example, if you have year column here, but you are seeing things like letters, it means that there's an error in the data, and that helps you to spot that and clean that section up. If you come to the end of this data here, which is the only part of the data I think is not right, is that this column has no data on it. So the system will report it as none. So I could take it off by simply clicking on the data on the row, on the column, and then right click and then click on remove. Now, if you click on remove other column, it's going to keep this column. I'm going to try that and I'll tell you how to come back to the normal one. So I'll click remove other columns. So now I have this column left. And if I want my data back, if that was an error, then I'll simply come to the right side and remove this decision. And then my data will come back to normal. Then now I actually want to remove this column because this column has no any usefulness. So in that it has to go. This value here or show zeros. So I could also say, well, these ones that have zeros, I am not going to have them. So I just untick them. And then that takes away all the values that have zero for this column. Could also do that for this other item here. Untick the zero, and then that takes off the zero. So I could clean up my data to look nicer to this point, but I don't need the zero in this case for my analytics. And I can just simply go back and say, do not remove the zero. So I need those zero back. Could also look at the country and see how many countries you got there, which is Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand, Singapore, and South Korea. If there's any country you think is not needed here, you could also untake those countries. And then you could look at the companies and find out if there's any redundancy in terms of the company, and then again, use the same process. And of course, you also have the option to manipulate the figure by right-clicking on the figure. You want to change, and you click on the figure and then right-click after you selected it, and then you could choose. You could duplicate the column if you want, but this is not, we are not interested in duplicating the column at this stage. You could change the type of the figure into decimal number. For example, we click on decimal number, and I'll just go back again to the same column, right click on it, and then you go to change type. You could change it to whole number, you could change it to fixed decimal number, or you could change it to percentage. So if I change to fixed decimal number, I may say add new step to it. So simply going to add the decimal point at this point. If I don't want that to be there, I could also take it off. Now, and if I'm happy with my data, the next step would be that I have to load my data. To load my data into the Power BI, I'll click on File, I'll click on Close and Apply, and that will load the data to the Power BI. That usually takes a few seconds or even a minute, depending on the size of your data to load. And once your data is loaded, then you could find your data on the right side of your Power BI. As you can see from here, I could click on this link here to see my variables, and that will show different variables I have on this Power BI. Now I want to start doing my analytics. I could do different types of analytics I'm interested in. It could be charts. Then I click on chart. If I want just report like tables, I could have tables similarly to the spreadsheet. If I want pie chart, I could choose pie chart, and I'm going to show you how you could work around with that. Now, let's say, for example, we want to choose the chart option here. So from here, you could see the x-axis and the y-axis. I want the name of the countries to be on the y-axis, similarly to the pivot table I showed you earlier from using the spreadsheet. I'll put the country's name here in this option here. And then the next, I will have to include the value on the x-axis. In this case, I'm interested in the accounts receivable. I'll have that in the x-axis. And that, of course, you can also increase the size just to see what you have there. So you could see here, we have this following 5 million and so on. So we could also swap the countries. So have the countries here in the x-axis and then the amount in the y-axis. So let's do that. We just swap them, bring this one down, and then bring the country up. So the accounts receivable to the x-axis. So this looks more reasonable, like what we're interested in. And then, of course, this shows the sum of the accounts receivable. Then we could also change not to sum. We simply click on this draw down arrow here. When you click on the draw down arrow, you could go for average. You could just simply say do nothing, show value as no calculation. So these are various options you could use. I could also change this chart to a better chart, maybe smaller ones if I want, by looking at different options here. So these are various options you could use. And of course, there is a specific way to transform your chart if you wish to do that. And those various functions can be found from one of these other ones that are here. Me also actually want to do something different, like just having a drawdown arrow in terms of the movement across the countries. And of course, you could also include pie charts that have the specific amount stated on the pie chart. So these are various things you could do having this, using this Power BI. You're just looking at generating just table for management reports, then you could choose the option here, which is table. And if you wish to include more items to your chart, you just keep adding to the session here, because in the last input we have them in the session. So I could add things like the account payable here in the y-axis, and then the add account payable for each of the countries. Of course, you could always choose no calculations, as I said earlier. Inventory, could add inventory. We could also add cash balance. So these are multiple things you could do. So various things you could do. So it's quite a robust, and there's much you could choose to do. Thanks of your graphic design. So once you're happy with your graph and your table reports, or you want something different, using some of these other analytics, like running simple analytics, which is more detailed. So in that case, you might want to have these functions installed into your Power BI to get this done. So these are add-on type of functions. So if I'm happy with what I've done, one thing that I could do now, I could publish this to my account, or I could simply just save it. So you come here and click on Save As on your computer, and next time when you open your computer, it's going to show this analytics you've done. You could always create more sessions and do different analysis. If you want to keep this for your charts, you could use this session here for your tabular report. And again, just the same step we did. You choose what you want to do. We're looking at table, or we were looking at something different for table, like what we did earlier. Start from the chart. Could just again have the country, and we have the variables, which is the GST in this case, if you like, and then you could always go back and say where we want table in this case, and have our table in this section, and add more variables to them if you wish to report more information in terms of the financial details you want to report. Always remember, you could always enlarge this table to the size that you want. And of course, you can keep opening more tabs, and once you save them, they all save together. So if I'm happy with my analytics, this function here will help you to publish it, and this will save it on the CRUD for you. So you don't have to be on your computer to have access to your Power BI analytics. you could always log into Power BI from the browser and be able to share some of this analytics with your colleagues or manager, and even make presentation from the browser. You could always change some of these variables while making your presentation. I hope this video was useful to you. And if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the button like. Thank you.